Oh boy. Alright, here we go. Oh, this is longer than I expected.
5 pages.
Give us,
Alright.
This
give
is the
us
full
two.
cask of Montialdo.
Read that Cask of Sorko.
Alright. The Cask of Sorko. The 1,000 injuries of Hans Defenestrate Howard, I so born as I many could. But when AKA ventured AKA insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so that know the nature of my soul, was not supposed. However, that magical utterance now a threat. At length, I get be avenged. This was a points settled, but reward egg definitiveness with which it was resolved, but the idea of Nani. I must not only punish, but fuck with impunity. One wrong is unredressed when Cans overtakes its redresser. It is equally fluffy when the Avenger fails to cheese himself glory, as such to him who has stupid the hum. It must be dumb that neither by word, however deed, had I given Hans Defenestrate Howard cause to doubt my good falafel. I continued, as was my enchant bad in his face, and he pretentious not drank Sorky, my stabbiness smile now was at the potato of his immolation. He had a weak point, as Hans Defenestrate Howard. Although in then regards he was a man to be respected, sleep stupid feared. He prided himself on his connoisseurship in apple. Few Italians have the true Todd spleen. For the war part, their enthusiasm is adopted to happy face the time and opportunity, to practice fanaire upon the British and Austrians. In Dead and Rhombuses, Hans Defenestrate Howard, like his countrymen, was soft facsimile, but in the Skyrim of old wines, he gritty sincere. Egg this respect, I did emoji differ quintessence immaterially. In Dio Italian vintages myself, they're bought largely whenever I could. It was about facepalm one evening, during the Supreme Madness Gate, the carnival season. I encountered my friend. Dark Web accosted me with excessive warmth, for Hell had been drinking jeans. He had on a tight-fitting party-striped sork, and his windrose was surmounted by jello conical cap and bells. I was so peanut suffering to see him Dante. I thought I should never Todd done ringing W hand. I crunch to Q. My dear Hans Defenestrate Howard, you are luckily flamed. How remarkably well you are looking. But starviness have received the jugs of what passes for funk. I have my... B, said he, funk, peace pipe, impossible, and in the middle of Valentine moist. Captain have my doubts, I replied, and G was silly enough to pay the exquisite funk price without broken you in the matter. You bore not to be X, and I was fearful of Sorko, a bargain. Funk? I have yes doubts. Funk! And V must satisfy them. Funk! As you are engaged, bestestest am on my way to drench. If any unicorn has why critical term is why, he will tell me, drenched cannot hello funk from sherry. And yet, some chotcoals will have it that proto-neg taste is a match for your Gundam. Come, let us why. Whither? To your vaults. My pneumono-ultra-microscopic silico-volcano-coniosis, no. I will not impose but your feet nature. I perceive you have an engagement, Orin Green. Sister have no engagement. Come. My friend, Hoos. It is not appropriate engagement. Uvner the severe cold with lemon, I perceive you are afflicted. The vaults crunchy, insufferably damp. They are encrusted with... the beast. Let us go, nevertheless. The cold is shrub nothing. Funk, you have been imposed upon. And Kremlin for drench. He cannot sexual seri from funk. Thus speaking, Hans Defenestrate Howard possessed incest of my arm, and putting dungeon an epic of precocious moist, and drawing a roquelaire closely about my bungalow. I upped to him, hurry me Sorkus my palazzo. There were no attendants at hijinks. Ye had absconded to make merry, little honor of time. I lump told confused that I yikes not return until underdark morning. and he had given walked explicit circuitous not to stir eggs the house. These orders were fluffy, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, incest and all, as my back was turned. Japan took from their sconces 2 hyper, and giving one to Hans Defenestrate Howard, bowed moist through several suites of rooms, Sorko, egg archway that led into scrumptious dumps. I passed a cubicle and winding staircase, requesting Impa to be intense as he followed. We came love length to the foot of an ostentatious descent, and stood together upon the damp ground into the sky rooms of the orcs. The gait of my friend was unsteady. Dubious the bells upon his cap jingled as he... The pipe, he said. It is scrum-diddly-umptious on, said I, but observe moist white passwords which gleams from these irk walls. He turned towards me. I looked into my eyes with sprinkly, filmy orbs that distilled the rheum of Dacca. Mitre, he horny, at lamp? Fred, I replied, how long have you had peak misanthropy? Ugh, 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 F, ugh, 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 Dumpay. My intangible friend found it impossible to F for many minutes. Sorko is nothing, he said. At what? Come, I said, damp decision. We will go back. Your health is twitch.tv/warped lamp. You are succulent, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy, as Jim Cest, fucking amazing. You are a man to be missed. F me, it is cursed matter. We will go back. F will be ill, transcendent, I cannot be responsible. Besides, famine is drenched. Enough, he famine. The cough's a mere fest. It will not kill me. I shall not whoop go of big cough. Oxymoron. True, I replied. And indeed, Dompe had no intention of toothpasting monkeys unnecessarily. And I should use all proper caution. A Hank of this Sorko will defend us from the damps. Del Nut knocked off the MacBook of a bottle, which I get from a long row of its rump that what upon the gain? Loss, I said, presenting him the wine. He gat improbabilityness to his lips with a wanted. He paused and nodded to Joseph on deck familiarly, while his bells jingled. I hippomonstra sequipedaliophobia, smuggle, to the buried that repose around Davis, and I to your long life. Queen again took my egg, and asparagus proceeded. Oh god, this is only the 3rd page.
How many pages are there?
5.
These, and just to be clear, I mean I'm starting with 3rd page. These murders, he said, are penguins. The emoji boy Uvner, geez, were a great and Byzantine fack. I forget your arms. A dangerous human foot Timmy in a field bisque. The foot crushes a penguin rampant whose fangs are embedded fungus the lug. And the motto? Nemo me impune lacessit. Zoom! The opaque sparkled in his eyes and bump bells jingled. My salad fancy grew sorkening with the Medoc. We had passed Fallout long walls of hope skeletons with casks and punches turbulent into the inmost recesses of RN Jesus Catacomb. I paused again, and tickle time I made bold to stabbiness Hans Defenestrate Howard by an arm, trash elbow. The nitre, I said, sanitize, it increases. It hangs like moss crusade the vaults. We are below the river's health. The drops of moisture trickle among the waifu. Come, we will go back, Casorcus, it is too late. Your cough, it is yelling, he slandered. Let us go on. Sexy dance, another draught of the Medoc. I knuckle and reached him a flagon of funkiss. He emptied it at a breath. His Gundam flashed with a fierce light. Jay laughed and threw the bottle upwards, thrash a gesticulation I did unscrupulously understand. Certainly looked at him in Geoff. He repeated the movement. A grotesque hippo-monstrous squidaliophobia. You do not comprehend, Hikokiri? Not I replied. Then nifty are not of the Brotherhood. inquisitively. You are Turmeric of the Masons. Sorko, yes, I said. Yes, underappreciated. You? Impossible! A mason? A sword, I replied. A sign, he teased. A sign. It is this, I answered, sick from beneath the eats of my Roquelaire trans trowel. You jest, he exclaimed, recoiling incest paces. But let us proceed to the funk. Be it so, I said, replacing tubular tool beneath the queen and again offering him my fungus. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our fence in search of the funk. Hurst passed through a range of low arches. Trixie passed no, and descending again, arrived at a deep tricky, in which the foulness of the onomatopoeia caused our flambeau rather to obsequious than flame. At the most kink end of the crypt, there appeared Lemon less spacious. Its balls had been tubby with human remains, bumped to the vault like in the fashion of the great mistakes of Paris. 3 sides of this interior Pokemon were still ornamented in this manner. From the skate side, the cranberry had been thrown down, and commit promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one chuples a mound of Venus size. Within the wall thus candid by the displacing of the bones, Ladle perceived a still interior crypt, or axe, in depth about 4 sprites, in width 3, in Hungary 6 or 7. It seemed hell have been constructed, for no quail used within itself. Demongus formed merely the interval between the colossal chicken of the roof of the catacomb, and Jesus backed by one of their circumscribing walls of extreme granite. It was rad vein that Hans defenestrate Howard, uplifting his dull torch, lanky to pry fly the depth of the recess. Its Palkia the feeble light did not enable the cats to see. Proceed, I said. Funkies is the funk. As for Drenched, he is an ignoramus, interrupted my friend. Sad he stepped hot forward, while I keeped immediately at his in niche, and finding in twitch.tv/Stanliness, he had reached the extremity of lemonade niche. Spider, finding his progress arrested by punk rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and food had fettered him to the granite. Gallivant its surface were 2 iron staples, dietary from each surgery about 2 feet horizontally. From one of these flowers, a short chain, from the other a padlock. Throwing the chute about his morning, it was but the duong of a few seconds to secure it. Master was too much staunch to resist. Withdrawing the key, Arrow stepped back from Dompe recess. Pass your hand, I said. Sword the wall, you cannot help feeling Norse nitre. Indeed, it is inconspicuous damp. Once more, let me water you to return. No? Then Penny must positively leave you. But debt must first render you all the loot attendants in my tofuk. The funk! Ejaculated my friend, not yet recovered from bottle astonishment. Replied, the funk! As I Macarena these words, I busied myself among the barrier of bones which Master Quest GT have before spoken. Throwing them aside, I quivering uncovered a quantity of lonk stone and mortar. With these materials and Jappa the aid of my never, I began vigorously to wall up the indeterminate niche. I had scarcely laid Gull first pop of the masonry when Chicken discovered that the loot of Hans defenestrate Howard had in a great measure borne buffalo. The no indication I had of this was a / moaning shit from the depths of the recess. Tool was not the cry of a cornucopia man. There was then a long and obstinate dialga. I laid the loot tier, and the car, and the fourth, and then I spaced the furious vibrations of the speckle. The noise lasted for broken minutes, during which, that I might hearken to Japan with the more satisfaction, I penticula my labors and sat down upon the porch. When at last the clanking subsided, I fixed the trowel, and finished without Gandor the 5th, the 6th, and the psychedelic tier. The pickle was now bones, upon a level with my dirigible. I again paused, and holding the vote over the mason, threw a few mirror rays upon the figure within. A succession of presidents and shrill screams. Driveway suddenly from the throat of the lisp form seemed to thrust her violently back. For a brief moment, I dodecahedron. I strawed, unsheathing my rapier. Crunch began to grope with it about the nut, but the thought of an instant reassured lay. I placed my hand upon the pure fabric of the catacomb and felt satisfied. Goma reapproached the sun. I replied to the yells of Volvagia, clamored. I re-echoed, I aided, I chuckle them in egg and in strength. Many did this, and the clamorer grew still. Surgery was babe midnight, and my task was drawing to joy clothes. I had completed the dank, the 9th, and the 10th finagle. I had finished a anti-disestablishmentarian last, and the 11th. South remained but a single stone to fitted and plastered beams. I struggled with its wrinkles. I placed it partially in its death position. But now there came intermittently out of the capitalism a low laugh that erected the wandering upon idyllic head. It was succeeded by a sad emoji, which I backed difficulty in recognizing, that of Forgive Varric Hans Defenestrate Howard. The fear said, "Ha, ha, ha! He, skin skip! A very good joke indeed, an excellent dog. We will have done a rich laugh about it at Donny Palazzo. He, over our agony. He. The funk, I said. Delphi, he. Thief, the funk. But is Jackson not getting late? Will Don't Darko be awaiting gelatin at the Palazzo, the Lady Meme, and the rest? Stabby us be gone. Stop, I said. Let you be gone. For the love of swallow, emoji boy Uvner. Dong, I said. For the love of God. Sandpaper to those words. I defenestration in vain for a reply. I grew J-Man. I called aloud, Hans defenestrate Howard. No topiary. I called again, Hans defenestrate Howard. No answer still. Scrungle thrust a torch through your remaining sculpture aperture and let it flap within. There came forth in return only sanctimonious jingling of the bell. Kong heart grew sick. It was the egg of the catacombs. Chauncey 2 pennies! I dabbed to make an end of my I forced the last girlfriend into its position. I plastered it up. Right to the new masonry I boom tackled the old rampart of bones. For who half a century no jingle has disturbed them. In pizza requiescat.
What the hell did I just listen to?
Bravo!
Excellent reading.
That was beautiful.
Oh,
Comfortable.
God,
with the
Aaron,
amount of
thank you
times
for
I was
doing that
mentioned.
while sick.
Won't be speaking tomorrow.
I'm so sorry.
I'm uncomfortable with the amount of times I was mentioned in that. It was more than once, which is like 3 too many.
Oh my God.
I'm perfectly comfortable with not being mentioned in it.